I sent my entire husband's family DNA tests as Christmas gifts, and 6 months later, I accidentally destroyed a 3-generation lie that their whole empire was built on. The notification popped up while I was eating lunch. 40-7 new DNA relatives. I clicked it without thinking much about it. First match, Marcus Delacroix. Black guy in medical scrubs, close cousin match. Second match, Lisa Chen. Asian woman. Also close family. Here's the problem. The Ashfords are white, like obsessively white. My mother Law Catherine has this framed family tree in her study showing 12 generations of pure English bloodline. She mentions it constantly. When we got engaged, she literally said we're very proud of our heritage while looking at my Turkish parents like they were the help. So I opened my husband James's results. Not one single match said Ashford. Not one. I sat in that Whole Foods parking lot for 2 hours just scrolling through the matches. Then I started looking at his parents' results. Then his uncles. Nothing matched their story. Everything they built their reputation on was fake. But here's what made it nuclear revenge material. This wasn't just some family secret. The Ashfords run a genealogy consulting firm. They authenticate bloodlines for wealthy families. Catherine literally wrote a book about preserving heritage. They charge $20,000 per family tree verification. Their entire business model was proving people's ancestry. And theirs was completely fabricated. Before I tell you how I used this to dismantle their whole world, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you found out your in-law's entire identity was a lie? Don't forget to subscribe, because what I did next took 6 months of planning and it destroyed everything they spent 30 years building. So let me back up and explain how I even got here. I married James Ashford 3 years ago. Big wedding. His family paid for everything, which should have been nice, except Catherine made sure everyone knew she paid for everything. The invitations had their family crest on them. Actual crest. Like we were royalty or something. My parents flew in from Istanbul. They brought baklava and Turkish coffee for the rehearsal dinner. Catherine looked at it like they brought roadkill. She did that thing where she smiled and said how exotic while making sure it was placed at the far end of the dessert table. The Ashford family business is called Heritage Bloodlines Consulting. Sounds fancy, right? What they actually do is verify family trees for rich people. Old money families who want to prove their old money. People joining country clubs. People writing memoirs. That kind of thing. Catherine is the face of it. She's written 2 books. One called Preserving Your Legacy and another called The Authenticated Life. She does speaking tours. Charges $10,000 per event. The consulting firm charges $20,000 per family verification plus expenses. James runs the business side. His younger brother Michael handles the research. Their uncle Richard manages client relations. It's a whole family operation. And it's all based on one thing. The Ashford family tree. 12 generations trace back to English nobility. Catherine keeps the original documents in a climate-controlled safe. She's shown them to clients. Used them in her books. Built her entire credibility on them. I sat in that parking lot for 2 hours doing math in my head. 870% I Morgan's meant Marcus was a first or second cousin to James. Not distant. Close family. Lisa Chen was slightly further out but still definitely related. I opened the Ancestry app on my laptop. Started building a tree based on the DNA matches. None of them connected to the Ashford line. None of them. Instead, I found a whole different family. James's DNA pointed to a man named Robert Castellano. Born 1940-8 in Newark. Died 2006. I found his obituary. Survived by 3 children. Michael Castellano. Jennifer Castellano-Wong. And Patricia Castellano. I clicked on Patricia's profile. Her married name was Patricia Ashford. James's grandmother. Holy shit. I drove home on autopilot. My hands were shaking. James wasn't back yet. He was at the office. Catherine was hosting some garden party fundraiser thing. I had the house to myself. I went straight to James's office. He keeps everything related to the business in there. Filing cabinets, binders. The whole genealogy database backed up on an external hard drive. I found the Ashford family tree file. Opened it. The earliest document was dated 1870-3. A birth certificate for Charles Ashford in London. Marriage certificate. Immigration papers. Everything looked legitimate. Old paper. Official seals. The works. I took photos of everything. Then I started looking up the names. Charles Ashford, born 1870-3 in London. I searched UK birth records. Census data. Nothing. No Charles Ashford born that year in London. Not in the parish listed. Not anywhere near it. I tried the next generation. William Ashford, born 1900-2. Same thing. Nothing in the records. Every single document in that file was fake. I heard the garage door open. James was home early. I shoved everything back in the filing cabinet and went downstairs. He was in the kitchen making coffee. Didn't even look up when I walked in. Hey babe, how was your day? I watched him pour coffee into his favorite mug. The one with the family crest. If any of them knew. It was fine. Ran some errands. How was the office? Busy. We landed that new client. The Vanderbilt descendant. Mom's thrilled. 20-5,000 contract plus travel expenses. He said it so casually. $20-5,000 to verify someone's bloodline when his own was completely fabricated. That's great. He finally looked at me. You okay? You seem off. Just tired. He nodded and went back to scrolling his phone. Didn't ask anything else. That was normal for us lately. We'd been growing apart for months. He spent more time at the office. I spent more time doing freelance graphic design work from home. I went upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. Opened my laptop again. Started messaging the DNA matches. I found Marcus Delacroix on Facebook. Sent him a message. Hi Marcus. We matched as close relatives on Ancestry. I'm trying to piece together my husband's family tree and I noticed we share significant DNA. Would you be willing to chat about your family background? I'm particularly interested in the Castellano line. He responded within an hour. Sure. Happy to help. My grandmother was Patricia Castellano. She married someone named Richard in the 60s, I think. Lost touch with that side of the family after she passed. What are you looking for specifically? I stared at the message. Richard. Not Ashford. But James's grandfather was supposedly named Richard Ashford. I pulled up the Ashford family tree again. Richard Ashford. Born 1940-2. Married Patricia Mitchell in 1960-5. Patricia Mitchell. Not Patricia Castellano. I went back to the DNA matches. Found Patricia's obituary from 2018. Patricia Ashford, formerly Castellano. Beloved wife of Richard. Mother of Catherine and David. Grandmother of Jones and Michael. So the grandmother was real. The Castellano name was real. But everything before that was invented. I messaged DeMarcus back. Do you have any photos of your grandmother? I'm trying to confirm we're talking about the same person. He sent 3 photos. A young woman in the 60s wearing a mauve dress. And a family photo with a man who looked exactly like the pictures I'd seen of Richard Ashford. Same person. I sat there on the bathroom floor for I don't know how long. My brain was trying to process the implications. The Ashfords had changed their name. Probably when Richard and Patricia got married. Maybe before, they'd invented an entire ancestry, created fake documents, built a business authenticating other people's genealogies while lying about their own. And Catherine knew. She had to know. Those documents were in her safe. She'd written books about heritage and authenticity. She'd made a career out of this lie. The question was, did James know? I thought about every conversation we'd had about his family. The stories he told. The pride in his voice when he talked about their English ancestry. The way he'd casually mentioned they were descended from minor nobility. Either he was an incredible liar or he'd been lied to his whole life. I needed to know which one it was. I came out of the bathroom. James was watching TV in the living room. "Hey, can I ask you something about your family history?" He didn't look away from the screen. "Do you know much about your grandfather, Richard? Like where he grew up? His parents?" He shrugged. "Not really. I was pretty young when he died. Mom would know more." "I was looking at that family tree in your office. It's fascinating." Now he looked at me. "Since when do you care about genealogy?" "Since I married into a family that's obsessed with it." He laughed. "Fair point. She loves this stuff. She's got all the original documents." "I know." He went back to the TV. Conversation over. I went to bed early that night. Lay there staring at the ceiling. Planning. Because I realized something. I had information that could destroy their entire business. Their reputation. Everything Catherine had built. But I needed to be smart about it. If I confronted them now, they'd close ranks. Deny everything. Maybe even destroy the evidence. I'd seen how they operated. They were good at controlling narratives, Catherine especially. No. I needed more. I needed to understand the full scope of the lie. Find out exactly when it started. Who knew what. And most importantly, I needed leverage. The next morning, I called in sick to my freelance project. Told them I had food poisoning. Then I drove to the public library downtown. I spent 8 hours in the genealogy section. Used their database access. Searched immigration record, census data, name change records. I found it in a 1960-6 New Jersey court filing. Richard Castellano legally changed his name to Richard Ashford. Patricia Castellano changed to Patricia Ashford. No reason given. Just a simple name change. Then I found their marriage certificate from 1960-5. Richard Castellano married Patricia Rossi. Both Italian. Both from Newark. So they'd changed their names right after getting married. Started fresh with a new identity. I kept digging. Found Richard's birth certificate. Parents were Antonio Castellano and Maria Benedetti. Working-class Italian immigrants. Nothing wrong with that. Except the Ashfords had spent 3 generations pretending to be English aristocracy. I found Catherine's birth certificate next. Born 1960-8. Catherine Ashford. That name was real at least. She'd been born after the name change, so she'd grown up as an Ashford. Probably didn't know about the Castellano side, unless her parents told her. I found more records. Richard had a brother, Vincent Castellano. Never changed his name. I found him on Facebook. Still living in Newark. Retired plumber. I sent him a friend request with a message. "Hi Vincent. I'm married to your nephew James. I'm researching family history and would love to learn more about your side of the family. Would you be open to chatting?" He accepted within minutes. Called me immediately. His voice was rough. Heavy Jersey accent. "You married to little Jimmy?" "Yes." He laughed. "Jesus, Ricky really committed to that, didn't he?" My heart started pounding. "So you know about the name change?" "Know about it. I was there when he did it. 60-6. Right after he married Patricia. He was always embarrassed about being Italian. Wanted to be somebody else. Somebody fancy. Did he ever tell his kids?" "No idea. We stopped talking after he moved to Connecticut. He wanted nothing to do with the old neighborhood. I tried reaching out when our ma died, but he didn't even come to the funeral." There was bitterness in his voice. "Do you know anything about the family tree he created?" The English ancestry. He laughed again. English? Ricky couldn't trace his family past our grandparents who came over from Naples in 1920. There's no English anything. That's all fantasy. I thanked him, told him I'd be in touch. So Richard had invented everything. The whole bloodline. And he'd cut ties with his real family to maintain the lie. But did Catherine know? Did James? I needed to find out before I made my next move. That night at dinner I tested the waters. I was thinking we should visit some of your extended family. Your Uncle Richard sighed. James looked confused. Uncle Richard? You mean great minus Uncle Richard. He died before I was born. Right. But he had siblings, didn't he? Do you know any of them? No idea. Mom never mentioned any. Catherine never talks about her dad's family. James shrugged. I think they all died young or something. Mom doesn't like talking about it. Makes her sad. So Catherine had created a story. A reason not to discuss the real family. Smart. What about genealogy records? Has anyone ever verified your family tree independently? He gave me a weird look. Why would we need to? We have all the original documents. That's literally what we do for a living. I just thought maybe for credibility. Since you're selling that service to others. Our credibility comes from the work we do. We verified hundreds of family trees. Never had a complaint. He was getting defensive. I backed off. You're right. I was just curious. But I could see it now. James didn't know. He'd been raised on the lie. Believed it completely. Catherine had made sure of that. Which meant when this all came out it was going to destroy him too. And I had to decide if I cared. I spent the next week acting completely normal. Went to family dinners. Smiled at Catherine's garden parties. Played the good daughter minus in minus law. But every spare minute I was digging. Vincent sent me photos. Old family pictures from the 50s and 60s. Richard as a kid in Newark. Standing outside a corner store. Laying stickball in the street. Everything screamed working class Italian neighborhood. Then he sent one that made me stop breathing. Richard and Patricia's wedding photo from 1960-5. But it wasn't the couple I focused on. It was the background. A small Catholic church in Newark. Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I'd seen this photo before. In Catherine's book, The Authenticated Life, Chapter 3, she'd included what she claimed was her parents' wedding photo. But in her version the background was different. A grand English church. Gothic architecture. Completely different building. She'd photoshopped it. I pulled up the book on my laptop. Compared them side by side. Same pose. Same dress. Different church. Catherine hadn't just continued the lie. She'd actively manufactured evidence for it. I needed to see those original documents in her safe. The birth certificates. The immigration papers. Everything she claimed proved their English heritage. The problem was the safe was in her home office and I was never alone there. So I created an opportunity. Catherine was hosting a charity luncheon that Saturday. One of those things where rich women pay $200 a plate to eat salad and feel philanthropic. She'd mentioned needing help setting up. I volunteered. She looked surprised. You want to help? I'd love to. I don't feel like I contribute enough to the family business. This seems like a good way to start. She actually smiled. Well, that's very sweet, dear. Come by Friday evening. We'll prep together. James thought it was weird. Since when do you want to hang out with my mom? I'm trying. She's important to you. I want us to get along better. He kissed my forehead. That means a lot. I felt sick. Friday evening I showed up at Catherine's house with wine and flowers. She loved that kind of thing. Made a big deal about how thoughtful I was. We spent 2 hours going over table settings and seating charts. She talked the whole time. About the business. About clients. About her next book deal. I need to use the bathroom. Where should I go so I'm not in your way? Oh, just use the one in my office. Down the hall. Second door on the left. Perfect. I went to her office. Closed the door. The safe was built into the wall behind a painting. I'd seen it before during a house tour she'd given when James and I first got engaged. Standard combination safe. I couldn't crack it. But I took photos of everything else. Her desk was covered in client files. I flipped through them quickly. Took pictures of the invoices. 20,000 here. 30,000 there. One contract for $40,000-$5,000. Then I saw a folder labeled Ashford Authentication Internal. I opened it. Inside were copies of all the documents. The birth certificates, marriage licenses, immigration papers, everything that supposedly proved their English lineage. I photographed every page. Then I saw something else. A letter from a company called Heritage Documents Limited based in London. Dated 2003. Dear Mrs. Ashford, per your specifications, we have completed the reproduction of the requested family documents. As discussed, these are created using period minus appropriate paper and inked to match the original time periods you specified. Total cost for 12 documents is £8,000. Please remit payment to the account below. Holy shit. She'd commissioned fake documents. Paid a company to create them. This wasn't something she inherited. She'd actively manufactured the evidence. I heard footsteps in the hall. I shoved everything back in the folder, closed it, rushed to the bathroom and flushed the toilet. Catherine was in the hallway when I came out. Perfect. Just needed a minute. She nodded. Let's finish the table arrangements. We worked for another hour. I left around 9. Drove home. Sat in the driveway for 20 minutes looking at the photos on my phone. Catherine knew everything. She'd created the fake documents, built the business on them, written books, given speeches, charged people tens of thousands of dollars to authenticate their heritage while hers was completely fabricated, and she'd raised James to believe all of it. The next day was the charity luncheon. I went. Made small talk with Catherine's friends. Women with hyphenated last names and tennis bracelets. One of them cornered me by the dessert table. You're Catherine's daughter -law, right? The one who married James. That's me. She leaned in close. Lowered her voice. I've always wondered. Your family. Where are they from? Turkey. My parents own a restaurant in Istanbul. She made a face. Oh, how interesting. And Catherine was okay with that, given how particular she is about lineage. She was polite about it. The woman laughed. Catherine once told me she wouldn't let her sons date anyone who couldn't trace their family back at least 5 generations. She's very serious about bloodlines. My hands clenched around my wine glass. Is that so? Oh, yes. She's quite passionate about it. It's wonderful, really. So rare to find families who care about preserving their heritage these days. I excused myself. Went to the bathroom. Stared at myself in the mirror. Catherine hadn't just lied about her own ancestry. She'd used that lie to look down on everyone else, to judge people, to build a hierarchy where she sat at the top. And she'd taught James to think the same way. I thought about our wedding, the comments about my parents, the baklava at the far end of the table, the way Catherine had insisted on her family crest on the invitations, all of it based on a lie. I went back to the luncheon, found Catherine holding court with a group of women, talking about her next book, something about maintaining family legacy in the modern age. I listened to her speak, watched how confident she was, how certain of her own superiority. She had no idea what was coming. That night I started building my plan. First, I needed to understand the full scope of the business, how much money they were making, where it was going, who their biggest clients were. I knew James kept financial records at home. He was meticulous about that kind of thing. I waited until he was asleep, took his laptop from his office. He didn't password protect it. Never thought he needed to. Not from me. I opened the business files. Heritage Bloodlines Consulting had made $1.2 million last year, most of it from verification services. But there was another revenue stream. Expert witness testimony. Catherine testified in legal cases. Inheritance disputes mostly. Rich families fighting over who was the legitimate heir. She'd charge $15,000 per case to authenticate genealogical claims. I found case files. She testified in at least 20 cases over the past 5 years. Some of them had resulted in people losing millions in inheritance, all based on her expert opinion. Her expert opinion built on fake credentials. This wasn't just lying about heritage. This was fraud. Real legal fraud that had cost people real money. I copied everything to a flash drive. Put the laptop back. The next morning, James mentioned his mom had a new case. Big one. Some family in Boston fighting over a trust fund. $50 million at stake. She's flying out next week to review their documents. Could be a 6-figure contract if it goes to trial. I made coffee. Kept my voice casual. That's great. She must be excited. She's already preparing her testimony. This could be the biggest case she's ever had. I thought about that. Catherine testifying in court. Presenting herself as an expert. Authenticating someone's genealogy, while her own was completely fake. The irony was almost beautiful. I waited until James left for work. Then I called Vincent again. He picked up on the second ring. Hey there. Find out anything interesting? More than I expected. Can I ask you something? Did Richard ever talk about why he changed his name? Like what he was trying to accomplish? Vincent was quiet for a minute. You really want to know? Yes. Of being Italian. Of being working class. Hard worker. But Ricky wanted more. He was smart. Went to college. Business degree. Met Patricia at Rutgers. She was the same way. Wanted to be somebody, so they invented new identities. Pretty much. Ricky told me once that in America you can be whoever you want to be. You just gotta commit to it. I guess he committed. Did he ever show any regret? Vincent laughed bitterly. Nah. Last time I saw him was 1970-8. He showed up at a family funeral in a 3-piece suit. Talked different. Acted like he didn't know half the people there. He'd become Richard Ashford. Richard Castellano was dead to him, and he raised his daughter the same way. I guess so. Never met her. Ricky made sure of that. I thanked him. So this wasn't just Catherine. This started with Richard. He'd built the foundation of the lie and Catherine had expanded it into an empire. But she was the one profiting from it now. She was the one testifying in court. Writing books. Charging desperate people thousands of dollars for fake authentication. I needed to decide what I wanted. Did I want to expose them? Destroy the business? Watch it all collapse? Or did I want something else? I thought about it for 3 days. Then Catherine called me. She never called me. We texted sometimes, but actual phone calls were rare. I need your help with something. Can you come by the office tomorrow? Of course. What's going on? I'd rather discuss it in person. Come around 10. I showed up at 10 exactly. The Heritage Bloodlines office was in a converted Victorian house in the nice part of town. Lots of dark wooden leather furniture. Very old money aesthetic. Catherine was in her office. She looked stressed. Close the door, please. I did. She gestured to a chair. I sat. She folded her hands on her desk. I'm going to be direct. James mentioned you've been asking questions about family history. About Richard's side of the family. My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. Just curious. She studied me. I've built this business on trust. On credibility. Our family name means something in this industry. Do you understand that? Of course. Good. Then you'll understand why I need to ask you to stop digging into things that don't concern you. There it was. The threat wrapped in politeness. I met her eyes. I'm not sure what you mean. I think you do. You've been in contact with people from Richard's past. People who have no connection to this family anymore. It's inappropriate and frankly, it's causing problems. She leaned forward. The kind that could hurt James. Hurt the business. Hurt all of us. Is that a threat, Catherine? It's a reality. We have a reputation to maintain. Questions about our family history from someone inside the family look suspicious. Client stalk. I let the silence hang for a moment. Then I smiled. You're right. I apologize. I didn't realize it was causing issues. I'll stop. She relaxed slightly. Good. I'm glad we understand each other. Absolutely. I left the office, got in my car, drove to blocks, pulled over. She knew I was looking, which meant she was worried, which meant she had something to hide beyond what I'd already found. I needed to push harder, but carefully. That night I told James about the conversation. Your mom called me into the office today. She seemed upset that I've been asking about your grandfather. He frowned. Why would that upset her? I don't know. She said it was causing problems, that it looked suspicious. Suspicious how? I shrugged. She didn't really explain, just asked me to stop looking into your family history. James was quiet for a minute. That's weird. I mean, we literally do genealogy for a living. Why would she care if you're curious about ours? That's what I thought. He pulled out his phone. I'm gonna call her. No, don't. I don't want to cause drama. Too late. He was already dialing. I listened to one side of the conversation. James getting more and more confused. Then frustrated. Then defensive. He hung up. Looked at me. She says you've been contacting people claiming to be related to us. People she's never heard of. I have been. Your grandfather had a brother. Vincent. He's still alive. Lives in Newark. James stared at me. My grandfather didn't have a brother. According to Vincent, he did. I found him through public records. He's your great minus uncle. That's impossible. Mom would have mentioned him. Maybe she didn't know about him. Or maybe this Vincent guy is lying. Trying to get money or something. There are scammers who do that. Target families with successful businesses. I don't think he's lying, James. How do you know? Because I took a DNA test and he matches as a close relative. So do his kids. So do about 40 other people with the last name Castellano. James went very still. What are you talking about? The DNA tests I sent everyone for Christmas. I got my results back. So did you. So did your parents. And none of you match the Ashford family tree. You're wrong. I'm not. I've checked the data 3 times. Your DNA says you're Italian, not English. He stood up. You're believing some computer algorithm over documented family records. James, the records are fake. Get out. What? Get out of my house. I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not listening to this. This isn't a game. Your grandmother's name was Patricia Castellano before she married Richard. They changed their names in 1960-6. I found the court documents. Stop. Your mom commissioned fake genealogy documents from a company in London. I found the invoice. £8,000 for 12 forged documents. His face was red. You went through my mother's files. I took photos at her house. You broke into her safe. I didn't break in. I just looked at what was on her desk. He grabbed his keys. I'm going to my mom's. When I get back, I want you gone. James, wait. He slammed the door. I sat there in the empty house. That didn't go how I planned. I packed a bag and left. Not because James told me to. Because I needed him to think he had control. I drove to a hotel. Not a nice one. The kind with hourly rates and a flickering vacancy sign. Paid cash. Checked in under my maiden name. Then I sat on the bed and made a list. What I had: DNA evidence. Photos of fake documents. Invoice for forged papers. Contact with the real family. Financial records showing the business income. What I needed: proof of actual harm. Proof that Catherine's fake credentials had damaged real people. Something that would make this criminal instead of just embarrassing. I opened my laptop. Started going through the case files I'd copied. Catherine had testified as an expert witness in 20-3 inheritance disputes over 5 years. I pulled up the court records for each one. Public information. Anyone could access it. Started reading. The Morrison case. 2 brothers fighting over their father's estate. $8 million. Catherine testified that the younger brother couldn't prove his lineage to the family patriarch. Case dismissed. Older brother got everything. I found the younger brother on LinkedIn. Thomas Morrison. Now living in Arizona. Working as a high school teacher. I sent him a message. Hi Thomas. I know this is random, but I'm researching a genealogy expert who testified in your family's court case in 2019. Catherine Ashford. Would you be willing to talk about your experience with her testimony? He responded in 30 minutes. Are you a lawyer? No. I'm someone who thinks she might have lied in court. He called me immediately. His voice was tight. Angry. If you have proof that woman lied, I want to know about it. I explained who I was. Married to Catherine's son. Found out the family credentials were fake. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then she destroyed my life. My father left half his estate to me in his will. My brother challenged it. Said I wasn't actually related to our grandfather. That my mother had an affair. A complete lie, but Catherine got on the stand and said the genealogical evidence supported my brother's claim. Did you have DNA evidence? Yes. It proved I was my father's son. But my brother's lawyer argued the question wasn't paternity, it was lineage. Whether I descended from the family line. Catherine said, I didn't. The judge believed her. I lost $4 million. Lost my relationship with my brother, lost everything. How did she justify her conclusion? She said she'd reviewed historical documents, marriage certificates, birth records, census data. Said there was a gap in the lineage that couldn't be explained. Made it sound scientific. But it was all fake. If her credentials are fake, then yeah. It was all fake. I thanked him. Told him I'd be in touch. Then I found 6 more people. 6 more cases where Catherine's testimony had changed the outcome. Where people had lost money, lost inheritances, lost families. I contacted all of them. By morning I had 4 responses. All of them willing to talk. All of them angry. One woman had lost $12 million. Another had lost her family's business. A man had lost custody of his grandfather's historical papers worth hundreds of thousands. All because Catherine Ashford testified as an expert. All because courts believed she was credible. I compiled everything into a folder. Organized it. Made it clean and clear. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Cold. This is Robert Chen from Chen & Associates. I represent the Ashford family. We need to meet. I don't think that's necessary. Huh, Mrs. Ashford. You're making serious allegations against my clients. Allegations that could be considered defamatory. I strongly suggest you meet with me before this escalates. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you an opportunity to resolve this quietly. What does quietly mean? Come to my office tomorrow at 10. We'll discuss terms. He hung up. So Catherine had already called her lawyer. Good. That meant she was scared. I showed up at his office at 10 exactly. Downtown. Glass building. Expensive furniture. Robert Chen was mid-40s. Tailored suit. Wedding ring. He gestured to a chair. Mrs. Ashford. Thank you for coming. It's not Ashford anymore. I'm going back to my maiden name. He made a note. Ms. Demir then. Let's be direct. You've made accusations about the Ashford family's genealogical credentials. You've contacted former clients. You've accessed confidential business files. I haven't accessed anything confidential. Public court records aren't confidential. You photographed documents from Catherine Ashford's private office. She invited me into her office. I didn't break in. He leaned back. Regardless, these accusations are damaging. My clients are prepared to file a defamation suit if you continue. Defamation requires the statements to be false. Can you prove they're true? I can prove their genealogical credentials are fabricated. I can prove Catherine commissioned fake documents. I can prove their DNA doesn't match their claimed heritage. He didn't blink. The Ashford family has documentation going back 12 generations. Their reputation is impeccable, built on a lie you can't prove in court. Actually, I can. Discovery would be very interesting. Imagine Catherine on the stand, under oath, having to explain why her DNA doesn't match her family tree, having to explain the invoice from Heritage Documents Limited. He was quiet for a moment. Then he slid a paper across the desk. My clients are willing to offer a settlement, $250,000. In exchange, you sign an NDA. You stop contacting former clients. You delete all files and photos. And you don't contest the divorce. I looked at the paper. Didn't touch it. That's a generous offer, Ms. Demir. It's hush money. It's a resolution that benefits everyone. Everyone except the people Catherine defrauded in court. My clients have committed no fraud. Your clients built a business on fake credentials. Catherine testified as an expert witness in cases worth millions. People lost money because they believed she was credible. That's fraud. You'd have to prove intent. I will. He leaned forward. You're a freelance graphic designer. You have no legal background. No resources. My clients can keep you in court for years. Bleed you dry in legal fees. Even if you're right, you'll lose everything fighting them. Maybe. This isn't a game. I agree. It's people's lives. People who lost everything because your clients lied. He stood up. The offer stands for 40-8 hours. I left his office, walked to my car, sat there for 20 minutes. They were scared. Scared enough to offer $250,000. Scared enough to threaten lawsuits. But they were also right. I didn't have resources. I couldn't afford a legal battle. I needed something bigger. Something that would force their hand. I drove to the library. Spent 6 hours researching fraud statutes. Expert witness perjury. Professional credential requirements. Found what I needed in Massachusetts law. The state where Catherine was testifying next week in the Boston case. In Massachusetts, if you present yourself as an expert witness based on false credentials, it's perjury. Criminal perjury. 5 years minimum sentence. And the case was in 10 days. I called Thomas Morrison back. Thomas, if I could prove Catherine Ashford lied about her credentials, would you be willing to file a motion to reopen your case? Hell yes. What if there were others? What if we could get multiple cases reopened at once? Even better. I'm going to need statements from you. Detailed accounts of how her testimony affected your case. And I need them fast. When do you need them? 3 days. He didn't hesitate. You'll have them tomorrow. I called the other victims. Got the same response. All of them wanting justice. Then I did something risky. I called the Boston case attorney. The one opposing Catherine's testimony. I explained who I was, what I had. She listened. Then can you get me this evidence before the hearing? Yes. How do I know it's legitimate? Run a DNA test. Court ordered. Compare Catherine's results to her documented family tree. She was quiet. Then if you're right, this changes everything. I know. If you're wrong, I'll have you charged with witness tampering. I'm not wrong. Send me everything you have. I sent her the files. The DNA results. The photos. The statements from victims. 12 hours later, she called back. Holy shit. Yeah. I'm filing a motion to exclude Catherine as an expert witness. And I'm requesting a criminal investigation. Good. You should know. This is going to blow up. The Ashford deaths won't go quietly. I'm counting on it. She paused. Why are you doing this? You're married to their son. This will destroy your marriage. My marriage was destroyed the minute I found out who they really were. Fair enough. I hung up, checked into a different hotel. Nicer this time. Because I needed to think clearly. My phone started ringing an hour later. James. I let it go to voicemail. He left 15 messages that night. Starting angry. Ending desperate. The last one said, my mom's lawyer says you're trying to get her arrested. Please. Just come home. We can fix this. I texted back one sentence. Ask your mother about Heritage Documents Limited. He didn't respond. The next morning the Boston attorney called. The court accepted my motion. Catherine has been removed as an expert witness, and the DA is opening an investigation into her credentials. How long until it goes public? The court filing is public record. I'd say you have about 6 hours before the media picks it up. I sat back on the hotel bed. 6 hours. In 6 hours, the entire world would know the Ashford family legacy was fake. I thought about Catherine, about her books, her speaking tours, her smug superiority, the way she'd looked at my parents like they were beneath her. I thought about James, how he'd believed the lie his whole life, how finding out the truth would break him. Part of me felt guilty, but a bigger part remembered the people who'd lost millions, lost families, lost everything because Catherine had built her credibility on a foundation of fraud. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. My phone rang again. Catherine this time. I answered. Her voice was ice. What you forced me to do. You vindictive little bitch. Do you have any idea what you've started? Actually, yes. A criminal investigation into expert witness fraud. Multiple motions to reopen cases. And probably the end of your business. You can't prove anything. I already did. The Boston DA has everything. DNA evidence. The invoice from Heritage Documents. Statements from your victims. Those people are not victims. They lost millions because you lied in court. I authenticated their genealogies based on the available evidence. Evidence you faked. She was quiet for a long moment. Then her voice changed. Softer, almost pleading. Think about James. This will destroy him. James will survive. He loves you. He loves a version of me that doesn't threaten his family's lies. I can make this worth your while. More than the settlement. 500,000. Cash. I don't want your money, Catherine. Then what do you want? I want you to tell the truth. I want you to admit what you've done. I want those people to get their money back. That will never happen. Then I guess we're done here. Wait. Please. There has to be something. There isn't. My grandchildren. Think about them. This will ruin their lives. You should have thought about that before you built an empire on fraud. I hung up. For hours later it hit the news. Prominent genealogist under investigation for fraud. The story spread fast. Local news. Then regional. By evening it was on CNN. Genealogy expert Catherine Ashford accused of faking credentials. Multiple court cases under review. My phone exploded. Reporters. Lawyers. People I'd never met. I turned it off. Sat in the dark hotel room. Watched the news coverage. They showed photos of Catherine. Her books. The Heritage Bloodlines office. Then they showed the victims, Thomas Morrison, the woman who lost her family business. All of them finally getting their stories heard. I waited for the guilt to come. It didn't. Instead, I felt something else. Relief. Because it was finally over. Or so I thought. The next morning there was a knock on my hotel room door. I opened it. James stood there. He looked terrible. Eyes red. "Can I come in?" I let him in. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. "My whole life is a lie. I know. My mom's being investigated. The business is shutting down. Michael's getting death threats. Our clients are suing us. I'm sorry. Are you? Because you did this. I exposed the truth. Your family did this." He looked up at me. "I loved you. Past tense. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the same person I always was. You just didn't want to see it." He stood up. "There's one thing I don't understand." "What? Why? Why go this far? You could have just divorced me. Walked away. Why destroy everything?" I met his eyes. "Because your mother destroyed people's lives. Because she took their money and their families and their futures. And because someone had to stop her. So this was never about us. Us ended the minute you threw me out for telling you the truth." He moved toward the door. Stopped. "My lawyer says you'll get half of everything in the divorce." "I don't want it." "What?" "I don't want anything from your family. Not money. Not property. I just want out." He stared at me. "Then why did you do all this?" "I told you." "Justice." He left. I sat back down. Looked at my phone. 50-3 new messages. One from the Boston attorney. 5 more cases are being reopened. Catherine's facing criminal charges. This is the biggest genealogy fraud case in Massachusetts history. One from Thomas Morrison. "Thank you. I can't believe this is finally happening. Thank you." One from Vincent. "Saw the news. Hell of a job, kid. Ricky would have hated this." "Which means you did it right." I closed my eyes. It was done. Catherine's empire was collapsing. The victims were getting justice. The truth was finally out. I should have felt satisfied. But there was still one thing bothering me. One thing that didn't add up. Catherine had commissioned those fake documents in 2003. 20 years ago. Right when she started the business. Which meant she'd known the truth from the beginning. But Richard had changed his name in 1960-6. 30-7 years before that. So what happened between 1960-6 and 2003? What made Catherine decide to build a business on her father's lie? I opened my laptop, started searching, found Richard's obituary from 2006. Died suddenly. Heart attack. Survived by wife Patricia. Daughter Catherine. Son David. Wait. Son David. James had an uncle. I'd never met him. James said he lived overseas. I searched for David Ashford. Found nothing. Searched for David Castellano. Found an address in Newark. Same neighborhood Richard grew up in. I called Vincent. "Did Richard have a son named David?" "Yeah. He's my nephew. Lives about 3 blocks from me actually." "Does he know about the name change?" "They've never changed his name. He stayed Castellano. Refused to go along with Ricky's bullshit." "Can I have his number?" Vincent gave it to me. I called David Castellano. Ayman answered. Rough voice. Jersey accent like Vincent. "Who's this?" "My name is Alan Demir. I'm married to your nephew James." He laughed. "Not anymore, I bet." I saw the news. Catherine finally got what was coming to her. "You don't sound surprised." "I've been waiting for this for 20 years. "What do you mean?" "Meet me. I'll tell you everything." I drove to Newark the next day. David Castellano lived in a small house on a quiet street. Working-class neighborhood. Kids playing basketball in driveways. Complete opposite of the Ashford world I'd been living in. He answered the door before I knocked. mid-50s, graying hair. Looked nothing like James, but I could see Richard in his face. Same jawline. Come in. The house was clean. Simple. Photos on the walls. Family stuff. Kids. Grandkids. A woman I assumed was his wife. He saw me looking. That's Linda. My wife. 30-2 years. She's at work. He gestured to a worn couch. He sat across from me in a recliner. So you're the one who blew up Catherine's little empire. I found out the truth. Had to do something with it. He nodded. Vincent said you were smart. Said you reminded him of our mom. She didn't take shit from anyone either. He got up. Came back with a cardboard box. This is everything my father wanted to destroy. Catherine doesn't know it exists. He opened the box. Inside were papers, documents, photos, some yellowed with age. After my dad died in 2006, I found this stuff in his attic. He'd hidden it. Kept it separate from everything else. I think part of him knew someone would need it someday. He pulled out a photo. Showed it to me. Richard and Patricia's real wedding photo. The one from Our Lady of Mount Carmel. No Photoshop. Just the original. Then another photo. Young Richard. Maybe 20. Standing with an older couple. His parents. Antonio and Maria Castellano. My grandparents. Good people. Dad was ashamed of them. Thought they were to Italian. To working class. Why did he change his name? David leaned back. My dad had this idea. He thought if he could erase where he came from, he could become someone else. Someone better. He met my mom at Rutgers. She was first generation too. Her parents came from Sicily. But she was beautiful. Educated. Wanted the same thing he did. To be American. To be white. Or white enough to not be ethnic. Not be immigrants. To be the people who looked down on immigrants. That's really sad. It's pathetic. But it worked. Dad got a good job. Corporate sales. Made decent money. Moved to Connecticut. Bought a house in a white neighborhood. Raised Catherine and me as Ashfords. But you didn't change your name. I refused. I was 16 when they did it. Old enough to understand what they were asking. They wanted me to pretend my grandparents didn't exist. Pretend I wasn't Italian. I said no. What happened? Dad kicked me out. Said if I wasn't going to commit to the family, I couldn't be part of it. I moved in with Uncle Vincent. Finished high school here. Never looked back. And Catherine. David's face hardened. Catherine was 8 when they changed the name. Young enough to believe the lie. Dad fed her this whole story about our English heritage. Made it seem romantic. Noble. She ate it up. Did she ever find out the truth? Yeah. When she was 20-5. I told her. He pulled out another document. A letter. Handwritten. Dated 1990-3. I wrote her this. Explained everything. Sent copies of the real birth certificates. Photos of our grandparents. Proof. What did she do? She called me a liar. Said I was jealous of her success. She'd just graduated from college. Had this plan to start a genealogy business. I tried to warn her. Told her building a business on Dad's lie would eventually blow up. She didn't listen. She doubled down. She went to Dad. Made him give her all his fake documents. Then she commissioned more. Better ones. Made the whole thing more elaborate. Turned a family lie into a business model. Did your dad try to stop her? David was quiet for a moment. My dad got sick in 2005. Cancer. He knew he was dying. And I think it finally hit him what he'd done. What Catherine was doing. He called me. First time in 20 years. Asked me to come see him. Did you go? Yeah. He was in hospice. Looked terrible. He cried. Actually cried. Said he wanted to tell the truth before he died. What happened? Catherine found out. She came to the hospice. Told Dad if he said anything she'd cut him off. He'd never see his grandchildren. She'd make sure everyone thought he was senile, delusional, and he backed down. He died 3 weeks later. Never told the truth. David's hands were shaking. He put the letter down. I watched my father die protecting a lie, because Catherine convinced him it was more important than his own integrity, more important than his family, more important than everything. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. What do you mean? He pulled out more papers from the box. These are the real family documents. Birth certificates. Immigration papers. Everything that proves who we actually are. He held up a thick folder. This is my father's will. The original one, written in 2004 before he got sick. I took it. Read it. Richard Castellano, being of sound mind. I leave my entire estate to be divided equally between my children Catherine and David. But that's not what happened. No. Catherine had him change it right before he died. New will. Everything to her. I got nothing. She said it was because I'd abandoned the family. Wasn't a real Ashford. That's not legal. You could have contested it. I did. Went to court. Catherine brought in expert witnesses. Genealogists who testified that I'd separated myself from the family line. That I'd rejected the Ashford name and therefore had no claim to the Ashford estate. Who were the experts? Her business partners. People she'd helped. All vouching for her. How much money are we talking about? My father had saved everything. Investments. Real estate. Life insurance. Total estate was worth about $2 million. She stole your inheritance. Yeah. And used it to build Heritage Bloodlines. The seed money for the business came from what should have been my half. Why didn't you go public? I tried. No one believed me. Catherine had credentials by then. A reputation. I was just some guy from Newark claiming his rich sister screwed him over. Made me look like I was after money. But now everything's different. Now everyone knows she's a fraud. Now they'll listen. I looked through the box. Everything was there. Proof of the real family history. Proof of the stolen inheritance. Proof that Catherine had built her entire on lies and theft. Can I take this to the lawyers handling the criminal case? That's why I kept it. I knew eventually someone would need it. Didn't think it would be my nephew's wife, but hey, life's funny. Ex-wife soon. Even better. You're not protecting anyone now. I'm really not. He smiled. It was a hard smile. You know what the worst part is? Catherine could have just been herself. Could have built a business on real skills. She's smart. Organized. She didn't need the fake heritage. But she was so desperate to be special. To be better than everyone else. Especially better than where she came from. Now she's going to lose everything. Good. Maybe she'll finally understand what she took from people. From me. From all those clients she defrauded. From our father who died protecting her lie. I packed everything back in the box. Carefully. These weren't just documents anymore. They were evidence. Evidence that would turn Catherine's fraud case into something much worse. Before I left, David walked me to my car. One more thing. Catherine has a safety deposit box at First National Bank downtown. She doesn't know I know about it. But my dad mentioned it once. Said that's where she keeps the really sensitive stuff. How would I get access to that? You wouldn't. But the DA would. With a warrant. Might want to mention it to them. I will. He nodded. Thank my dad. He's the one who saved all this. I think deep down he knew eventually someone would expose the truth. Maybe he wanted it to happen. Maybe that's why he kept the evidence. Or maybe he was just scared to throw it away. Maybe. Either way. Burn it all down. I drove back to Boston. Called the DA's office. Told them about David. About the box. About the stolen inheritance. Told them about the safety deposit box. They got a warrant within 40-8 hours. The news broke 3 days later. Catherine Ashford under investigation for inheritance fraud. Estate theft allegations surface. Then the bigger story. Search warrant executed on Ashford's safety deposit box. I found out later what was in the box. Copies of every fake document she'd ever used, including notes in her handwriting about which cases to use them in. Also bank statements showing transfers from Richard's estate directly into Heritage Bloodlines operating accounts. And one more thing. A ledger. Handwritten. Listing every client. Every case. Every lie she told. Like she'd been keeping score. The DA called it a smoking gun. The media called it the genealogy fraud of the century. I called it justice. James tried to contact me one more time. He showed up at my hotel. I don't know how he found out where I was staying. I opened the door. He looked worse than before. Like he hadn't slept in days. Did you know about Uncle David? I just found out. He stole my grandfather's will. Forged documents to make it look like my mom committed fraud. James, your mom did commit fraud. You don't know that. The DA does. They have everything. Documents. Bank records. Her own notes. He slumped against the doorframe. Why are you doing this? What did we ever do to you? Your mother looked at my parents like they were garbage. Called their culture exotic like it was a zoo exhibit. Made me feel like I had to apologize for existing. And she built all that superiority on a lie. So this is about revenge. This is about the truth. And yeah, maybe it's about revenge too. Maybe it's about watching someone who thought they were better than everyone else realize they're not special. His voice broke. I lost everything. My job. My reputation. Everyone thinks I was in on it. Were you? No. Then you'll recover. You're young. You're educated. You can start over. He looked at me, dead in the eyes. I hate you. I know. I hope you're happy. I'm not. But I'm not sorry either. He left. I closed the door, sat on the bed. My phone buzzed. Text from the Boston attorney. Catherine is taking a plea deal. 15 years. She'll serve at least 10. The business is being liquidated. Victims are getting restitution. You did it. I stared at the message. 10 years. Catherine would be almost 70 when she got out. Heritage Bloodlines was gone. The fake Ashford legacy was destroyed. David would get his inheritance back, with interest. Every case Catherine testified in was being reviewed. It was over. I should have felt relief. Something. Instead, I felt empty. Because I realized something. I'd spent 6 months destroying the Ashford family, exposing their lies, getting justice for their victims. But I also destroyed my own marriage, my own life, everything I'd built, and I wasn't sure if it was worth it. Then my phone rang. Thomas Morrison. I just got the call. My case is being reopened. I'm getting my inheritance back. For $1 million. After 6 years. He was crying. My kids. I can send them to college now. I can pay off my debts. Thank you. I hung up. Sat there in the silence. Yeah. It was worth it. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. A woman's voice. Young. Is this Aylin Demir? Yes. My name is Rebecca Ashford. I'm Catherine's daughter from her first marriage. I sat up. Catherine has another daughter. Had. She erased me from the family when I was 16. Said I was too much like my father, too common. Why are you calling me? Because I saw what you did. And I want to help you finish it. Finish what? Catherine's going to prison. Catherine, yes. But not everyone who helped her. Not everyone who knew. What are you talking about? Rebecca's voice got quiet. My mother didn't build that empire alone. She had partners. People who knew about the fraud and helped her cover it up. Important people. Rich people, people who paid her to falsify their genealogies too. Do you have proof? I have names. Documents. Everything my mother kept from me thinking I'd never be useful. Why would you give me this? Because she threw me away. Made me feel like nothing. Just like she did to you. Just like she did to everyone who wasn't good enough for her standards. And now you want revenge. Now I want the truth. All of it. Send me what you have. Already done. Check your email. She hung up. I opened my laptop. Rebecca had sent a file. 20-3 pages. Names. Dates. Cases. All of them people who'd paid Catherine to fake their genealogy. Celebrities. Politicians. Old money families desperate to prove they were old money. And one name that made me stop breathing. Senator William Crawford, Massachusetts. Currently running for re-election on a platform of American heritage and traditional values. Catherine had faked his entire family tree. For $200,000. I forwarded everything to the DA. Forwarded it to the Boston Globe. Forwarded it to every major news outlet I could think of. Then I sat back and waited for the next bomb to drop. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. Senator Crawford embroiled in genealogy fraud scandal. Campaign built on fake heritage. By noon, every news outlet in the country was running it. By evening, Crawford had suspended his campaign. By the next morning, 6 more names from Rebecca's list had been exposed. I, federal judge. To COS. A best-selling author who'd written a memoir about his immigrant ancestor who supposedly came over on the Mayflower. Except that ancestor never existed. Catherine had invented all of it. The DA's office called me. We need you to testify. Grand jury. Into what? Conspiracy to commit fraud. Wire fraud. This is bigger than we thought. Catherine wasn't just faking genealogies. She was helping wealthy people fabricate entire identities for tax benefits. Inheritance schemes. How many people are we talking about? Right now we have evidence on 40-7 clients. But we think there are more. A lot more. I testified 3 times over the next 2 weeks. Told them everything. Showed them everything. The DNA evidence. The fake documents. The invoice from Heritage Documents Limited. David's box. Rebecca's files. They kept asking the same question. How did you know to look? What made you suspicious? I told them the truth. I didn't know. I just sent DNA tests as Christmas gifts. The rest unfolded from there. One prosecutor said I should have been a detective. I said I was just someone who got tired of being looked down on. Between testimonies, I watched the fallout spread. Heritage Bloodlines was fully dissolved. Assets seized. Client list made public. Michael Ashford, James's brother, flipped on Catherine. Testified that she'd forced him to falsify research. Create fake documentation. He got immunity in exchange for cooperation. Richard's brother Vincent did interviews. Told the whole story about Richard changing his name. About Catherine stealing David's inheritance. About the family that got erased. David got a settlement. $2.4 million. His original inheritance plus interest and damages. He called me when the check cleared. I'm giving half of it to charity. Organizations that help immigrants. First-generation Americans. People trying to build legitimate lives. That's beautiful. It's what my grandparents would have wanted. Antonio and Maria. They came here with nothing. Worked hard. Never lied about who they were. I want to honor that. I think they'd be proud. I hope so. And hey, you ever need anything, I'm around. Your family. Real family. Not the fake Ashford kind. Thank you, David. I meant it. The victim started getting restitution. He sent me a photo of his daughter's college acceptance letter. Full ride to MIT. She's brilliant. Just like her dad. The woman who lost her family business got it back. The courts reversed the decision. She reopened last month. I saw her on the news crying happy tears. 6 other inheritance cases were overturned. 12 families got their money back. Lives were being rebuilt. Because the truth came out. Then Catherine's lawyer reached out. She wants to speak with you. Absolutely not. She says she has information you need. About James. What kind of information? She wouldn't tell me. But she says it's important. That you deserve to know before the divorce is finalized. I thought about it for 2 days. Then I agreed. They brought me to the prison. Medium security facility 2 hours outside Boston. I had to go through metal detectors. Sign forms. Catherine was waiting in a small room. Orange jumpsuit. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She looked old. Tired. Nothing like the polished woman who'd hosted garden parties and written books about heritage. She didn't stand when I came in. Just looked at me. Thank you for coming. I sat down. She folded her hands on the table. I know you hate me. You have every right to. What I did was wrong. To you. To my clients. To my own family. Is that what you wanted to tell me? An apology? No. I wanted to tell you about James. I'm divorcing him. Whatever you have to say doesn't matter. He didn't know. I know. You don't understand. He really didn't know. I made sure of it. I raised him to believe the lie so completely that he never questioned it. Because I knew if he questioned it, he'd find the truth. And the truth would destroy everything. Why are you telling me this? Because I destroyed him anyway. And I need you to know it wasn't his fault. Her voice cracked. James was a good kid. Smart. He believed in family. In legacy. In doing the right thing. I twisted all of that. Made him think our fake heritage was something worth protecting. Worth being proud of. Catherine wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. When you exposed me, you didn't just destroy my business. You destroyed his entire understanding of who he is. Where he comes from. What he's supposed to be. Good. Maybe he'll figure out who he actually is now. Maybe. Or maybe he'll spend the rest of his life lost. Trying to build an identity on ruins. That's not my problem. She looked at me directly. It is your problem. Because you loved him once. And he loved you. And that was real even if everything else was fake. I stood up. One more thing. My first husband. Rebecca's father. His name was Michael Chen. He was Chinese American. I met him in college. Married him when I was 20-2. Okay. My father was furious. Said I was ruining the bloodline. Destroying everything he'd built. He made me choose. My husband and daughter or the family. You chose the family. I chose the lie. I divorced Michael. Got full custody of Rebecca. Then I erased her. Sent her to boarding school. Barely saw her. Why? Because she looked too Asian. Because people would ask questions. Because she didn't fit the image I was trying to create. You're a monster. I know. But I need you to understand something. This whole thing. The fake genealogy. The business. The fraud. It started with my father, but I'm the one who turned it into what it became. Because I was ashamed. Of being Italian. Of being working class. Of being anything other than what I pretended to be. And you destroyed lives because of your shame. Yes. Catherine leaned forward. Rebecca contacted you for a reason. She didn't just want revenge. She wanted to expose everyone like me. Every person who's built a life on lies about their heritage. Every person who looks down on immigrants while pretending they're not immigrants themselves. What are you saying? I'm saying this is bigger than me. Heritage Documents Limited. They didn't just work for me. They worked for hundreds of people. Maybe thousands. Wealthy families all over the world who wanted fake genealogies. Fake crests. Fake nobility. How do you know? Because I was on their client list. I saw the other names. Politicians. Celebrities. People you'd recognize. Do you have proof? I have a contact. Someone who worked there. They have records. Why would you give me this? Because I'm going to prison for 10 years. My life is over. But maybe if this gets exposed, if all of it comes out, maybe some good can come from what I did. Or maybe you just want to bring other people down with you. She smiled. Maybe both. She slid a piece of paper across the table. A name. Contact them. They're expecting you. I took the paper, left the prison, sat in my car for an hour. Then I sent the email. The response came in 10 minutes. We need to meet. In person. London. I bought a plane ticket that night. Told no one where I was going. Flew to London 3 days later. Met the contact in a coffee shop in Kensington. Middle-aged woman. Nervous. Her name was Margaret. She'd worked at Heritage Documents Limited for 15 years before it shut down last year. We created documents for over 2,000 clients. Birth certificates, immigration papers, nobility titles. Everything you can imagine. All fake. All fake. We had experts. People who could replicate any style, any time period, any country. Why did you do it? Money. The company paid well. And honestly, I didn't think about the consequences. It was just paper. Just documents. I didn't realize people were using them to steal inheritances, commit fraud, destroy lives. Until now. Until I saw what happened to Catherine Ashford. Until I realized what we'd helped create. She pulled out a USB drive. This is everything. Every client. Every document. Every transaction. 20 years of records. Why are you giving this to me? Because you actually did something. You exposed the fraud. Got justice for the victims. I want to help finish what you started. This could destroy thousands of people. It could expose thousands of liars. I took the USB drive, flew back to Boston, gave it to the DA. They opened it, went silent. Then, this is going to change everything. The names were insane. 3 senators, a dozen judges, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, European nobility, Middle Eastern royalty, people who'd built entire empires on fake bloodlines. The DA started making calls. Interpol, FBI, international fraud units. This wasn't just a case anymore. It was a global operation. I watched from the sidelines as it exploded. Arrests in London, Paris, Dubai, New York, Los Angeles. People who'd spent decades pretending to be someone else getting exposed in real time. The media called it the Heritage fraud scandal. Called it the biggest genealogy conspiracy in history. Called me the whistleblower who brought it all down. I didn't do interviews. Didn't want the attention. I just wanted it to be over. But it wasn't over. 3 weeks after I got back from London, someone knocked on my hotel room door. I opened it. Rebecca stood there. Can I come in? I let her in. She sat on the edge of the bed. Looked at me. You exposed all of them. I had help. From you, from David, from Margaret. But you're the one who started it. You're the one who wouldn't let it go. Someone had to. She was quiet for a moment. Then I lied to you. About what? About why I contacted you. It wasn't just about revenge on my mother. What was it about? My father. Michael Chen. He died 5 years ago. Lung cancer. Before he died, he told me about my mother. About how she'd erased me to protect her fake image. He made me promise to expose her someday. So you used me. I gave you the tools. You chose what to do with them. Fair enough. Rebecca pulled out a folder. My father kept records, too, of everyone my mother associated with. Everyone in her network. People she helped. More names. One name specifically. Someone you know. She opened the folder. Showed me a photo. I stopped breathing. It was James's business partner. The guy who'd been helping him run Heritage Bloodlines before everything collapsed. Marcus something. I'd met him twice at family dinners. His real name is Marcus Sullivan. He's been running a parallel operation. Faking military records. Stolen valor cases. Helping people claim veteran benefits they didn't earn. How long? 10 years. He used my mother's client list. Her connections. Built his own network. Does James know? Rebecca shook her head. James is a victim in this too. He had no idea. I need to tell him. Why? This isn't your problem anymore. Because he deserves to know. Because he's been lied to enough. I called James. He didn't answer. I texted, I need to talk to you. It's important. About Marcus. He called back in 5 minutes. What about Marcus? Can we meet? No. Just tell me. He's been committing fraud. Military records. I have proof. Silence. Then I don't believe you. James, I have documents. Photos. Bank records. He's been running this operation for years. Why would you tell me this? You already destroyed my family. Isn't that enough? I'm telling you because you deserve the truth. All of it. He hung up. But 6 hours later Marcus was arrested. Federal agents raided his office. His home. Found everything Rebecca said they would. Fake discharge papers. Medal certifications. Deployment records. He'd helped hundreds of people fake military service. Charged with fraud. Identity theft. Conspiracy. James called me back. His voice was hollow. Again. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Stop being sorry. Just stop. James. I don't know who to trust anymore. Everyone I thought I knew was lying. My mom. My business partner. My whole life is built on lies. Not everyone was lying. You're divorcing me. So yeah, I wasn't lying about loving you. Past tense. Yeah. He hung up again. I sat there in the hotel room. Realized something. I destroyed the Ashford empire. Exposed the fraud. Got justice for the victims. But I'd also destroyed the one person who didn't deserve it. James hadn't known. Hadn't participated. Hadn't lied. He was just raised in a lie. And I'd burned his whole world down. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. I didn't ask for anything. He didn't fight it. We split everything 50-50 even though I told him I didn't want it. He insisted. Said it was the one thing he could control. I moved back to Turkey. My parents welcomed me home. Just made me tea and baklava and let me exist. I got messages occasionally. Updates on the cases. Catherine's sentence was upheld. 10 years. Eligible for parole in 7. David donated another $1 million to immigrant support organizations. Thomas Morrison's daughter graduated top of her class at MIT. The heritage fraud scandal led to new laws. New regulations. New oversight on genealogy services. Rebecca and I stayed in touch. She was rebuilding her relationship with her half-minus brothers. Trying to find the truth about who she actually was. I understood that. 6 months after the divorce I got a package. No return address. Inside was a letter. From James. I read it in my parents' restaurant. Sitting at the corner table where I used to do homework as a kid. Aline, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you care. But I needed to write it. I've spent the last 6 months in therapy, trying to understand who I am when everything I thought I knew was a lie. My therapist says I need to accept that my identity isn't based on bloodlines or heritage or family trees. It's based on choices, on what I do, not where I came from. I'm still working on that. But I wanted you to know. You were right. About everything. My mother was a fraud. The business was built on lies. People were hurt, and someone needed to stop it. I hated you for being that person. for destroying everything. But you were right. I also wanted you to know. I'm starting over. New career, new city, new name actually. I'm going back to Castellano, using my real family name. The one my grandfather tried to erase. Uncle David helped me with the legal stuff. It feels right. I don't know if we'll ever talk again. I don't know if I want to. But I needed you to know that what you did, it mattered. Thank you. And I'm sorry. James Castellano. I folded the letter, put it in my pocket, went back to work helping my parents at the restaurant. A month later, I got another email from Margaret in London. We found something else. Heritage Documents Limited was a subsidiary, part of a larger operation. There are 6 other companies, all over the world, and they're still operating. She attached files, names, locations, client lists. I stared at the screen, realized this wasn't over. Not even close. I could walk away. I'd already done enough. Got justice. Destroyed an empire. Or I could keep going. Expose the rest. Burn it all down. I thought about Catherine in prison. About James rebuilding his life. About the victims who got their money back. Thought about the people still being defrauded. Still losing inheritances. Still believing lies. Thought about my parents. Immigrants who never lied about who they were. Who built a life on hard work and truth. I opened my laptop. Started downloading the files. Because some lies are too big to let stand. And someone has to pull the thread. Even if it unravels everything. Or maybe just the beginning. Because 3 days after I started investigating the other companies, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice. Accented. European maybe. Ms. Demir, we need to talk. About what you're looking into. About heritage documents. About the people you're about to expose. Who is this? Someone who can help. Or someone who can make this very difficult for you. Your choice. Is that a threat? It's an opportunity. Meet me, London. Next week. Come alone. He hung up. I stared at my phone. Realized I'd just stepped into something much bigger than Catherine Ashford's fraud operation. Something that involved people who didn't go to prison quietly. People who fought back. I should have been scared. Instead, I bought another plane ticket. Because I was done being the person who walked away.